Hi everyone, welcome to A Beer with Brad episode 30. Today I'm going to answer your questions, but first let's talk about the beer. So for this month's beer, I have a beer from Infusion Brewing Company. So this is kind of a throwback to the old, when I was a kid, and obviously I wasn't drinking it, but when I worked at the grocery store I saw it and I saw it around town. Falstaff here in Omaha had a beer, it was a plain white label can and it just said in black bold letters, beer on it. So Infusion made their own kind of throwback to this. So I don't know if I've said it on this before, but I always believe that every single brewery always has at least one style of beer that they do really, really well. And for Infusion, I feel like this, and then they have a Mexican lager, are two of their best beers. Just kind of those plain, plain's not the right word, but just the lighter beer flavored beers. You know, go to Infusion, like their IPA, they had a hazy IPA. It wasn't my style of IPA, but this is a really good. If you want a nice, flavorful lager, you taste a lot of the grains and it has that earthy grain taste to it. It's really good. I really, really enjoy this one. And then for this month, I busted out it was actually my dad's, old Falstaff glass. So got a Falstaff glass to drink the Falstaff inspired beer. Infusion, they have a brewery up in Benson, and then they have their it's a small like a microbrewery type setup in Benson, and then they have their big production brewery down in, right on the south side of Omaha, right almost into La Vista. It's right off Harrison Street. And the Omaha location in Benson, I believe, is closing. It's for sale. There was some rumors about one of their former employees buying it, which would have been cool because that guy made some really good beers. Then that kind of must have fallen apart or something because now I've seen that it's listed for sale. So it's too bad. It's a cool space, but Benson's really awesome. So I could see someone coming in there buying a turnkey brewery and start making some great beers right away. But beer flavored beer, or beer by Infusion Brewing Company. Oh, and this is only available in the tap room. So tonight I'm going to read or answer your questions. Got them all typed out. They're easier to read on paper than off my phone. But before I do that, so this is going to come out at the beginning of August. So the 30th episode is the August episode, and then right before the next episode, the September episode comes out, I will be participating in Hutch Fest. It is a one-day maker kind of, I don't know, it's like a street market, art fair, party, all in like one. Just Google Hutch Fest Omaha and look at their website. A lot of cool stuff. It does cost not only the artists to get in there, but it also costs the people that want to come check things out and hang out and experience Hutch Fest. It does cost an entry fee to get in there, which is different than any art fair I've ever done. So, but I've heard great things, nothing but great things. The reviews look awesome, and I actually tried to go last year. I had a limited amount of time, and I thought, okay, I'll run down there real quick and check it out. And it was so crowded, I just said, I'll have to pass on this because by the time you got your ticket and got in, it would have been, my allotted time for that day would have been gone. But so that's coming up. That is the first Sunday. Labor Day weekend is the first Sunday in September, Labor Day weekend. And then the weekend after that is the Rockbrook Art Fair out at Rockbrook Village, and that's the more traditional art fair. It'll be Saturday and Sunday from 10 to 6, Saturday 10 to 5. I'm going to be close to the middle again, just on the western half of the middle, not too far across from the plaza. So stop by. Rockbrook's always a great art fair, and usually the weather that second weekend in September is really starting to turn into fall a little bit, and usually is just beautiful, a great weekend to be outside. So Hutch Fest Sunday of Labor Day weekend, and then the following weekend, Saturday and Sunday after Labor Day, is the Rockbrook Art Fair. So hope to see you all at both of those. So let's get into the questions. The weird thing about the questions is I put out a couple different times over the last month that I was taking questions, and no questions came in last minute, which is weird because usually it's mostly last minute. That's the way a lot of people operate. That's the way I operate. But so most of these questions I've had time to look at and think about for a while. Almost all photography questions. One beer question, and a lot of good stuff, a lot of fun things to talk about. Uh, the first one says, "Do you sell every photo you take?" And that's not even close. I bet I don't sell 1% of what I take. I'm always out taking different things, and maybe like a more appropriate question might be, do you take a photo? Do you sell like a photo from every photo shoot or every photography trip? That might be closer to reality, but I take so many photos and I hardly sell any of them. A lot of times, I do a lot of different things. I experiment. I still do some work where people hire me to take photos, and of course, I'm not really selling those. Last weekend, I was down photographing the Jean Leahy Mall, and all those photos I was taken for the mall. So, no, I don't sell every photo I take. That was Steve, by the way. Scott asks, do you worry about AI ruining photography? AI is artificial intelligence. And I kind of laughed at this because last year everyone was worried about NFTs and was that ruining photography. And so I joked that this is the NFT of 2023. And I'd also joke that, AI is not going to ruin photography any more than Photoshop did when Photoshop came out. So I think AI will have an effect on the business side of it for people that are that do commercial photo shoots or sell stock imagery. People that are doing it for art, it's not going to change the way they do it for anything. I actually was talking to a photographer that works here in Nebraska for a very, very well-known photographer, someone that is known throughout the world, and that really famous photographer actually tells employees that he's not worried about it affecting their jobs or his business or anything. He's looking forward to it because it would allow his staff to spend more of their time doing creative things and less time doing the mundane tasks that AI could replace. So, if people are truly doing it for the art of photography, it shouldn't change anything. It makes a lot of like the cheating, so to say, like replacing your sky or removing stuff out. It makes that stuff super easy. And then for like the architecture, you can remove stuff out of your shots that aren't desirable. If you're doing product placement, product shots, replacing the sky, doing different backgrounds. There's a lot of different ways that it could help and it could also hurt. But overall, I don't think it's going to affect. It's not going to affect it in a bad way. I mean, just like Photoshop did affect it in a bad way. Christine asks, will you continue to sell your old Omaha skyline photos after the new skyscraper is complete? So she's referring to the Mutual of Omaha skyscraper in downtown Omaha. And I've been thinking about this for a while, what I'm going to do. And, over the years, I've kind of just kept adding all the skyline photos to the same. I have an Omaha skyline page on my website. And I just keep adding to it. And I kind of mix around the new and the old. So there'll be one of my newer photos right next to one of the older ones. And it's getting to the point where that Omaha section is getting pretty long. So I kind of need to, it might be a good time to break it up. And kind of what I was thinking was, maybe once I get enough newer stuff that was taken after the skyscraper is complete, I'd have a current Omaha skyline, and then I'd have more of a historic Omaha skyline. And I don't want to use the word historic because that's not the right word. I mean, yes, it is historic, but to me, when I think of historic, I'm thinking of something from 100 years ago, not from 5 years ago that just has a different building in it. But so, yeah, I'm going to play around with some different wording or different ways to phrase it, but basically I think I'm going to come up with an Omaha Skylines that has all the newest stuff and all the old stuff. Because a lot of my pictures now have the Jean Leahy Mall in it, which has been gone for 4 or 5 years. Heartland of America Park, the new park opens this week, so I still have a bunch of pictures of the old park. Just the signs on the buildings have changed. Just a lot of things have really changed in the last decade down there. So it's probably about time to separate them out a little bit. Kenny asks if I ever thought about doing limited edition prints, and not only have I thought about it, I have done it. I started out, I didn't do any limited editions, and then I don't know, there was this time where my photos were getting better and better, and people were really buying more, and I thought, okay, great, I'm going to do limited editions, and it's going to make it more valuable, and it didn't change anything. It's the same photo. It just had more writing on it, more clutter in the bottom of the corner. Granted, if you were some huge name and you had giant collectors and whatnot, it might make a difference in the value. But for me, who's just out having fun, enjoying photography as an art, out doing doing fun things, exploring, taking pictures. There's no real point to it, I don't feel like. And so, I did it for a couple years, then I've stopped. There are still a few pictures floating around that do have a number in the corner. You go to the art fair, if you look hard, you might find one, a print in the print bin that has a number in the corner. But I did it. Don't do it anymore. And who knows? Maybe someday my mind will change again. But for right now, I don't have any plans of doing it again. Gail asks, how do I organize all the photos? Which is a great question because I've been doing this since, got my first digital camera in 2006. So I've had to organize all the photos since 2006. Basically, I use Canon and Canon camera, and the Canon software that imports it from the camera to the computer just organizes it by year, date, or year, month, day. So basically, you can go back all the way to 2006, and I just have everything broken down into to different years, and then different months, and then the different days. So I know a lot behind the name. Then I add a description to it, so I kind of know when I took most of the photos, and so going back is not that hard to do. It's weird, I can't remember what I had for breakfast this morning, but I can remember about when I shot a photo 10 years ago. It's kind of a weird way my mind works, but I don't know, I just found that the year, month, day is just the easiest way that is black and white. There's no gray area. What if I took a picture of a waterfall in the mountains and I organized my pictures by mountains, waterfalls, streams, deserts, blah, blah, blah. Or what if there was a monsoon season, you were in the desert and there was a river running, does it go in desert, does it go in river? I don't know. So I just always thought that the black and white of the year, month, day is the best way for me to organize it. And then, I use PC, so in the File Explorer you can search. So I put a description behind every date, so I know if I'm looking for Smoky Mountains, I can just go into the File Explorer, hit search, and type in Smokies, and it'll find all the pictures. That search works awesome. I use it all the time. Use it here, use it at work. Now I got a 4-part question from Tom, and Tom asks, my favorite state to photograph and why? I don't know, that's a tough one. I mean, Colorado, Wyoming, California, Northern California, they're all really cool. I do prefer the mountain. I like photographing the desert. I have more desert photos, I feel like, but I do prefer photographing the mountains. So I'd say one of those. What state haven't you photographed? And I want to. And I guess that would probably be Washington State or Alaska. I have these visions of Alaska being awesome, and mountains and scenery and bears and bald eagles everywhere, but I'm gonna guess that it's such a huge state that they're not everywhere. There's pockets and you gotta travel long distances between them, but I really would like to get to Alaska someday. Washington State is just the diversity of it. There's cool there's cool ocean shores, there's the rainforest, and then even like on the western side or the eastern side of Washington State, they have the Palouse, which is kind of like the Nebraska Sandhills in a way, where it's more agriculture instead of range land, but it's a really cool area, lots of neat scenes, and it's kind of been on one of my to-do list for a while. Actually, I probably have more places that I want to re-photograph than new places I want to photograph. As I look through my older photos on the computer, like I just finished entering photos for the Natural Landscape Photography Contest, and as I look through some of those old photos, I look back and it's like, oh, I wish I could go back there, move my camera about 10 feet to the right, and lower it down a foot. So, Northern California, Yosemite, I haven't been there since 2010 or 2010, I think. Really need to get back there. There's so much cool area that I'd like to see. And then the other 2 parts of Tom's question: what was your favorite brewery, and then what state, or what brewery would you like to go to? Again, this is hard. I've had like 2 weeks to think about this question, and I can't really think of one that is like my all-time favorites. I like just going and exploring and finding new ones, different breweries that I haven't been to. Like in Omaha, if I'm going to pick one, I usually end up at one of the same 5 or 6. There's a lot of really good ones. And then nothing where I'm gonna jump out and make a dedicated trip just to go to one brewery. What I like to do is, like, when I'm traveling somewhere, like on a photography trip or a vacation, just try to find some breweries in that area that look really cool and have some good beers. So nothing on like my brewery bucket list. Speaking of bucket lists, Megan asks, do I have a bucket list for landscape photography trips? And like I just said on Tom's question, I do want to get back to California. The John Muir Trail, which would be is a large bucket because I think it would take a few weeks to do, but I think it takes a few weeks to do when you're hiking. So if you're stopping and taking photos all the time, I would really like to hike into to the Eastern Sierras, on the JMT, and there's a lot of really cool lakes and high, just the high alpine rocky lakes. A lot of cool things I want to photograph out there. So like, Northern California is really kind of on my bucket list at the moment. As far as like foreign, there's a lot of photographers that are always going to Iceland or Patagonia or places like that, and I don't really have that. None of those are really on my bucket list. Yeah, they'd be cool to go to, but I just think a little more locally on my bucket list. Let me get a drink. Matt asks, have you purchased any new equipment lately, and what's the next piece of equipment you'd like to have? Probably the most recent thing I've purchased would be the tripod, because I lost mine in Colorado last fall. And the next piece of equipment I want is a taller tripod. And I knew that going into buying this one, and I kind of waited till the last minute to buy the new one and didn't really look at what was out there. So, I mean, this tripod's great. It works for 90% of what I do. But I'm 6'3", so I want a tripod that's a little taller, and actually a monopod that's taller too. So those would be the next two things I want. The other thing I've been looking at and I haven't purchased is I want a 360 camera from either GoPro or what's the other one? There's another like 360 action cam. I think there's a lot of fun things I can do with those, not for my photography, but for like the videos I make. Having a 360 camera in the helicopter would be awesome, and then maybe like a 360 camera like on the Grow Omaha videos, like mounted up on top of my Volkswagen or something. I just think there's a lot of cool things you could do with those. So the 360 cameras are really affordable too. So there's no reason I haven't bought one. The only reason I haven't is because I'm on the fence. I have the GoPro that I use for some of the video stuff, and the GoPro when it's works awesome, but it's not working too much, and maybe I just got a bad one or a bad battery or something. So I was kind of on the fence about buying another GoPro. But the other brand, the only reason I haven't bought that is because it's a different brand, and it's like there's a whole other setup, a whole other learning curve. So I don't know, keep dragging my feet on it. Let's see. Tony asks, how do you find new clients? Do you call them or approach people, offer them work? Honestly, I don't look for clients at all anymore. I'm almost to the point of just doing photography for me, and if people want to buy pictures from me, that's fine. If people call up and they've seen my work or they know me or something, they want to hire me to do something, that's fine. But I really don't. I don't look for work, and it's great. I do enjoy getting out and working for people and doing different photo shoots, but there's just so much time involved with my full-time job and the family and everything else I do, all the Grow Omaha stuff. I just don't have time. I'd rather be out when I do have the time for photography, just shooting for me. So I don't really look for clients. But in the past, a lot of times people see my work and recommendations from other people. And I still get calls that, hey, I know you from so-and-so, and I'd like you to come take pictures. And I'll usually, if we can make a reasonable deal, do that still. Another Matt, we have two Matts this time. What are your thoughts on Twitter and the new threads? I'm sad that Twitter is in the turmoil it's in, because Twitter was the greatest social media. It was just so clean, simple. It was easy to see what you want to see. It was really easy to hide what you don't want to see. And I had it so dialed in, and there was like a great community on there of people that knew each other, and so there was just a lot of interaction, and sharing photos on there was great. It was really easy. And if you could just take politics out of it, Twitter was awesome for art, weather, sports. There's still a lot of sports and quite a bit of weather on there. It's too bad that egos and everything else that got in there had to ruin it. So kind of disappointed in it. Threads it's not. It's supposed to be the Twitter competition, but it's garbage. It's just like another bad version of Instagram. So I don't know. Hopefully it gets all straightened out. I also wrote. Made a note here that I said I keep looking at the data. First of all, I try not to watch the news too much. There's just so much garbage on the news. I try to just, I keep up on some of the local stuff, and I try not to follow the national stuff and whatnot. But when you do, like, quick on like I was on CNBC or something the other day, and Twitter's dying, they're losing 10. I look at the data on my photos, and who knows if that's legit or not, but they're still getting more traction than any other social media. So I don't know. It's either all hype on the news, or just people are actually that enjoy following me are still following me. So Kenny asks, do you have any advice for someone who's thinking about getting into art fairs? Now, not that long ago, I'd have to go back and look, but not that long ago, I did a whole video on art fairs, and I believe I gave advice in there, but basically it just boils down to you have to do it because you like it. It would be a hard way to make a living to try to do art fairs. If you were an artist and you want to do a few a year to like supplement what you were doing, that'd be alright, but just the grind of doing those every weekend, I don't know how those people that travel all around the country do it, because it'd be some long weekends, some lonely weekends, and just a lot of work, and you never know if all that work's going to pay off. So, a lot of times you're setting up your tent Friday, and then you're out in the sun all day, Saturday all day, Sunday, and then Sunday night you're tearing down and you're driving back home. And so my advice would be to start slow. If you could get into an art fair, there's some that will rent tents before you spend the money to buy a tent. Maybe do that. Try to I don't know, don't try to just go there with 100 prints of one thing, try to have a little bit of variety. You never know what people are going to like. So, but most of all, you just got to do it because you like it. They're fun. The part I enjoy is I enjoy printing my stuff big, hanging on the wall, getting to see all my prints together, and getting to talk to people about photography. So I do it because I enjoy it. So, well, thanks again to everyone for tuning in. Don't forget that next coming up the beginning of September, 2 art fairs, Hutchfest. Just Google Hutchfest Omaha, and then the weekend after that is the traditional fall Rockbrook Art Fair. So hope to see lots of people there, and hope everyone's having a great summer. We'll see you again next time.